Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Antelope Valley Youth Department podcast. I'm Evan, and we're here with
Naomi.
and a special guest today,
Raul.
Raul. Oh, sorry, my bad. And we're here talking about organ donation today and how crucial it is to be more knowledgeable about that. And so, with that, how are you doing today, Raul?
Doing pretty good, bud. Thank you.
Do
Evan,
you mind explaining? You're good.
Yeah.
Do you mind explaining what's your role here at Antelope Valley Partners for Health? What do you do?
Well, here at Antelope Valley Partners for Health, I'm the supervisor for the Family and Community and Family Resource Center.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a lot of resources for the community, anything from enrolling them to benefits to linking them to rental assistance, utility assistance, anything that they need, we try to find.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And what do you hope to accomplish by doing this podcast today? Do you have?
Well, this is my role as a volunteer. I'm a volunteer for One Legacy. One Legacy is an OPO, organ procurement organization, and my goal today is to bring awareness and to kind of disavow some myths that are out there concerning registering to be an organ donor.
Mhm.
April is a Donate Life Month, which is a month basically to honor the people that have passed and that were donors, or the families that lost their loved ones and decided to donate, and to honor survivors of people who have received a transplant.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to move on to the next question with this first?
So what inspired you to be a donor?
Well, to be honest, I didn't need much inspiration like most of us when we get our driver's license. You get to see that question at the DMV that says, "Would you like to register to be an organ donor?" This is decades ago for me. I decided to say yes, thinking that obviously when I pass, they could take it whatever they want and save a life. That was my thought.
Yes.
With the little knowledge that I had, that's what I thought would happen. Of course, when you're 16. You do a lot of crazy things, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't crazy, but it was uninformed.
Yeah.
Decades later, do I only realize how impactful that decision could have been on somebody or somebody's family who were saved by a donation. So that's my goal.
And especially considering that they have it literally on a checklist, and it's like, oh, do you want to? And it's super, not small, but it's a yes or no question.
Yeah, it's very brief.
Yeah.
It's never
Mhm.
anything like a whole other page dedicated to it with
And
information.
it doesn't go into more of like what's behind it, what does it mean, things like that. So I feel like it's super important to be education, to bring education regarding it.
Definitely, yeah. Like I said, when I decided, it was pretty much uninformed.
Yeah.
One of the goals of One Legacy as an organ procurement organization of the 7 counties in this area, that's the business side, basically. Doing the procurement recovery, basically, of what's being donated, and then taking it to the person that's receiving it. But beyond that, people like me, volunteers who are ambassadors, people who have received a transplant, and then also as volunteers, there's families who have lost their loved ones and decided that the way to honor their loved ones that they've lost is to go out there and bring awareness. So that's what we do. We go out to hospitals. We go out to any community event. And I don't know if you guys have been to any community event that I've done here in Palmdale, Lancaster. I go out and just set up my table and bring awareness. The high school program that is active, but there hasn't been anybody to do it up here to the high schools. That's what I'm going to be starting pretty soon. Although sometimes I've been to community high school events, but not to the health departments. That's one program that One Legacy has that's going to actually bring it to the classroom of the high schools. So the goal is to spend the time in the high schools, in the health departments, to speak to all the students and let them know, bring awareness. So when they go to the DMV and they check off yes or no, because it is a personal decision, they know what they're saying yes or no to.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is your personal connection regarding
One Legacy, my personal connection is, I'm a transplant recipient. My connection to Donate Life basically is the California Donate Life was the yes. Beyond that, my connection to the One Legacy, the OPO, and organ donation is I'm a recipient. In June 1st of 2021, I got sick. I got really sick for about a good 3 months before that. lost a lot of weight, and then part of a liver failure is your color changes. You get itchy skin, ashy skin, but I didn't think much of it. I lost 50 pounds by the time I went to the hospital. I was thinking,
You're like,
person my age, you were supposed to lose weight.
Yeah.
So I got really sick, and my belly got distended, meaning it got full of fluid. And when I got June 1st of 2021, I went to the hospital, and that's when they gave me my end-stage liver disease diagnosis.
And you don't know how like things are led that way, like how it was. I don't know, like it's just arbitrary, it's random for it to happen.
It could happen in many different ways. For some people, it's just their diet. Yeah. For some people, it's a disease like hepatitis. It could be drinking. It could be, fatty food. But the liver's very hardy. It can recover, but sometimes, in my personal case, bad decisions. So got really sick, and when I ended up in the hospital, June 1st of 2021, when they gave me the diagnosis, they told me I had 5 months left to live. Because my liver was so bad. It was 25% functioning, and it's rapidly decreasing. And then part of the illness was that your belly gets distended, right? As soon as I got there, they started draining fluid from my stomach, and they were draining like 1.5 gallons every 3 days after that.
Oh, wow.
Because my belly kept getting full. I couldn't drink anymore.
Was it like your liver rejecting like
my liver wasn't processing? It wasn't sending the fluids to my kidneys to process. So it just filled up my belly.
So just a quick debrief. What is some of the responsibilities that a liver does?
Well, it processes the food basically, the proteins, the vitamins, all that, and breaks it down. Basically breaks down everything you eat and drink. And it just processes it through your body, and then it sends whatever gets is waste. Whatever needs to process it and feeds it to your body, and whatever it doesn't need sends it down to your intestines and your kidney to process to get rid of.
Okay.
So that's my connection. I got really sick. My story as far as getting the transplant is not typical. Most people who get sick and need a transplant, it could take them years to get on the list, first of all, on the waiting list. And then by the time they get a match, a few more years. My case, it was different. They're just part of getting the liver to be qualified, to get a transplant to qualify, you have to be sick enough, which is, bad because you get really sick. Yeah. But the rest of your body has to be healthy enough to survive the operation. So
to be strong enough.
To be strong enough, exactly. They gave me tests. It took them a good month and a half after that to go through the whole process of heart tests, lung tests, my strength and everything. And then, like I was saying, my story is different because rapidly they put me on the waiting list, basically. Waiting for a transplant. 2 months after I got my diagnosis, I was put on the transplant list, and then 5 days later, they found a
question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject. Is that like quicker than most people to even get on the list?
Yeah, quicker than most. Most people, like I was mentioning, most people wait. It could be years before they get on the list first.
So how long was your process?
2 months
Really?
to get on the list.
Oh, but
but then to get the transplant, once you get on the list, then the wait starts because it's horrible to say, but this is what happens. Somebody that has to pass, and the match has to happen. You have to whoever passes, they have to be a match to you.
Right.
For me, within 5 days, they told me I had a match. So that's horribly as horribly as it sounds. It was lucky for me. People wait on the list years for kidney, and this is one of my goals, to bring awareness to people to register to be organ donors. For kidneys, for example, once you get on the list, the wait starts, and I've heard people wait 7, 8, over 10 years before they get a match and they get transplanted. For kidney and lungs, heart, a little bit less. Could be typically 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but then not too much over that. For kidney, there's dialysis.
Yes.
That's why they can wait a little bit longer, but it's a painful wait.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And very anticipating too, especially for it's. I also been hearing a common myth regarding when someone has passed and they receive a organ, they are filled with guilt. Is there any support groups that you guys provide? Not necessarily Antelope Valley Partners for Health, but any other support groups that help with the coping mechanism of someone else's passing but taking their organs?
Yeah, like you're saying, when somebody receives an organ, receives a transplant, there's a lot of guilt. Well, let's the particular question, I guess you're talking about support for the family when somebody's lost a loved one, right?
Yes.
It is all of us that are volunteers. We're very aware of that fact that when we receive an organ, that means somebody has passed.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, definitely. One Legacy is the biggest organ nonprofit in the country. It's one of 56 in the nation, all federally funded. And part of our duties, in addition to doing the outreach like I am, and doing the recovery and taking it to whoever's receiving it, is we do the support for the families. When someone is lost, we have a family support services in our corporate office that brings support to the families that have lost their loved ones, whether it be counseling, whether it be keeping them busy, taking them to groups, therapy, whatever a mental wellness that we can bring them, we support them in that way. And it's a long process when people have lost loved ones. If anybody here has lost loved ones, there's a process. There's a grieving process. First is anger, right?
Yes.
And you don't want to listen to anybody. One Legacy is fully aware of that because, first of all, to make that decision to let go of somebody is hard.
Yeah.
And then to have One Legacy, in this case, come to you and ask you, how are you going to make that decision?
At the moment.
Exactly. This is why registry is important, because that person that is passing already made the decision.
I was just about to ask the one. So for the loved ones who do pass away and they do sign up for being a donor, they're able to they give them that consent to.
When you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. I had a question.
When you do register, that means you've made the decision yourself.
Of sound mind, as you say.
Of sound mind, basically. And first of all, the limit to register, the age limit is 13. Anybody could register at the point of when they turn 13.
Okay.
It's not legally binding, though. The parents still have to give the consent until they're 18. Once they turn 18, it's a legal contract. Okay, so when you register, you've already made the decision. If unfortunately whoever's registered, they pass, the approach from One Legacy is different to the family. When One Legacy goes to the family, we go to the family and we let them know your loved one that just passed. My deepest condolences. This person was registered, and this is what's going to happen. They can be mad, they could be angry, and of course we're aware of that, and we'll take our time and counsel them through the process. But it is a legally binding document, and the recovery is going to happen. They're going to be donors.
So, I'm not really sure how to word this, so give me grace. But so, say for example, someone does. Say I want to be an organ donor, and they had done it at the DMV, got the pink dot and everything, moves forward. Unfortunately, they pass, and the family is saying no. Since technically whoever is the next of kin, they are able to make those decisions for that person. But even if they had already agreed to being an organ donor, how would that look?
Well, like I was mentioning, once the person has agreed to be a donor, it is a legally binding document. The parents or the next of kin or the loved ones, they will be angry about it. They may not want to hear about it, and they may be against it completely.
Yeah.
And we're going to understand that. We're going to counsel them through that, and, slowly ease them into accepting that process. Yeah. It is important to know that it is a legally binding document once they register. And first of all, to register, just because you register doesn't mean you're going to be able to be a donor.
Yeah.
1 out of every 200 people that are registered actually become donors.
So what is the restrictions, or what's stopping from the other percentage from being able to donate any organs?
what prevents a person from actually donating? You mean
Yeah.
being a donor? It could be the way they die. First of all, in order for a person to be able to donate organs, they have to pass away in the hospital intubated.
Oh.
In other words, those organs have to be fed oxygen
So on life support.
on life support, basically.
And
that's basically brain dead.
I guess recency as well. So like within the time period of how long do you pass?
Within hours for the organs. And the different organs have different time limits.
Right.
Hearts and lungs and liver, a few hours. You know, there's science is advancing. There's different methods to keep organs lasting a little bit longer so they can be sent out further out.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. We're talking days. No, we're just talking hours still.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't imagine days. They've been on a while, and we've really
No.
progressed.
Like we've really advanced as much as we thought we would have.
To address your question about what prevents a person from dying, for example, if a person passes in a car accident, that automatically disqualifies them from being an organ donor.
If you don't mind me asking, is there a specific reason why?
Because we don't know, the One Legacy is not going to know how long they've passed.
Oh.
Since they're in the
makes
car
sense.
accident.
'Cause I
Or
think-
they passed at home, for example.
Yes, I was just about to say. I think like a car accident would be like it'd be hard to put a time frame on.
Exactly.
Then
Or
in
like to
there.
get rush. We don't want to rush anything with that
Exactly.
type of process. So
Exactly.
that makes
so
sense.
that disqualifies those people that have passed at home or in hospitals. They get disqualified from being organ donors. Now, One Legacy, we just mentioned organ, eye, and tissue, right? Because they get disqualified for organ donation doesn't mean that they get disqualified from tissue, corneas, for example. Those don't need oxygen, so they could be donated bone, for example.
I've been a recipient of tissue matter when I tore my ACL a couple years ago. I had a cadaver. I used their ACL. And I'm very
So
thankful for all that.
you got that tendon ligament from somebody who said yes.
Yes.
And you're basically a recipient.
Yes.
People who get dentures, the bone that they use is crushed bone made into a paste, and that what they put. They're recipients, basically. That came from somebody who said yes.
So obviously we know that there's a huge time frame on depending what we're able to use regarding organ donation compared to other organs. But what is a big misconception that you feel when it comes down to organ donation overall?
One of the biggest misconceptions, and it's basically from some the more elder members of our community, and even some Gen X, we could say, is that when they register, they won't be cared for at the hospital.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big one. We hear that all the time. Within our ranks as ambassadors, we have nurses and doctors that volunteer too, and they've given us training about it. And I can tell you categorically that that's a falsehood. Any paramedic, nurse, doctor that comes to treat you, their only job is to make you well, heal you, or keep you alive. That's their only job.
Yes.
And that's all they care about. They don't care what when you go to they come pick you up, or you have an accident. They don't look at your ID. They just want to keep you healthy, keep you alive, and take you to the hospital. Take care of you. They don't look at your ID or look for the pink dot. As a matter of fact, when somebody passes, like I mentioned, they have to be intubated. They don't get declared by the doctors that cared for you. 2 other doctors outside of the person's case have to declare that person that have passed.
Yes.
And then once that person is declared, those doctors have nothing to do with the recovery. The OPO or us will send our doctors to do the recoveries. So the doctors are completely separate. It's conflict of interest if they mention anything about donation.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of eyes on this whole process.
There's a lot of eyes. There's a lot of laws. It's all done legally and ethically, with care, with respect to the person that have passed and the family.
Yes.
Your point about I think we're talking about if that person said yes, how we approach the family. If that person hasn't decided, then the approach from One Legacy to the family is different. And we go to the family and we ask them, your loved one that just passed wasn't registered. Now, here's a decision that you guys are going to have to make. Imagine that kind of burden on you as a family member.
And after the just recent tragedy.
Exactly. So the approach is different now. then those people have to make the decision about the person to see if they want to be a donor.
And then for like the process of becoming, I know there's like different. You said the age of 13, you can become
You can register.
You could register, but then followed by a parental
Yeah.
guardian sign off.
At 13, anybody could register, right? But then, God forbid, anything happens to that person, the parents still can make the final decision up to the age of 18. After the age of 18, that person that registered at 13, now that registration becomes a legally binding document. But we don't have to go back and get final permission from the parents.
And so, is there like a lot of misconceptions about? Because I think people think of organ donor, they think of like going to the DMV and they see that paper. There's like, is there other ways, obviously, than just the DMV?
Exactly. Well, DMV is our biggest funnel of registrations. Over 90% of people that register do it at the DMV. It's not the only way, though. People could go to onelegacy.org and register through that website, or they can go to donatelifecalifornia.org, register there, or donevida.california.org and register there. So we have some people that say, well, I don't want the pink dot on my driver's license, but I want to register. Okay, you don't have to do it at the DMV. You can just do it at one of the websites.
Oh, really? I thought, I didn't know that you could opt out of not having the pink dot the pink dot on your.
Yeah. Once you register the first time, it stays in the registry. Your name stays in the registry until you decide to take it off. If you go to the DMV and renew your license and check no, that's no at the DMV for not getting your pink dot. But you're still in the registry.
Oh, okay. So then you would have to physically not physically, but go onto the website and opt yourself out completely.
Exactly.
Okay.
Donatelife.org.
So just because you say no
California,
on the paper doesn't necessarily mean that you opt out.
Exactly. You can even go to the website donatelifecalifornia.org and start. We've had another misconception that if you donate your eyes, you need to have a closed casket burial. That's not true. Because the eyes don't get donated. It's just a thin layer of the eye, which is called the cornea.
Okay.
So that gets donated. So some people say, well, I don't want to donate my eyes. I don't want to donate my skin. You can go on to donatelife.org and check off those things as opt out.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So and some
it's still giving them sovereign control about their whole body.
Exactly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you can go on there and check out, not take everything except this and this and this.
Wow. Okay. It's very intuitive and very.
Yeah. I actually did not.
Yeah,
like I just thought like if as soon as you say yes, like done, like yours overall. Wow.
We've had some people say that, but I still want to give my body to science. Yeah, you can do that. Once if they're donors and Donate Life California, they're registered to be an organ donor. One Legacy will do the recovery of whatever is being donated, and then we give the body back to the family, and they proceed with the science donation if that's what they choose.
Okay.
So everything, if whatever plans were set for that person that has passed, they still happen. We One Legacy does everything they need to do within hours, and then we give the body back to the family.
So then, speaking about families, what if, unfortunately, that person doesn't have any family or next of kin, or let alone Social Security, any form of identification? How would they proceed?
The traditional way that it happens right now, if somebody passes and they don't have family, they're not donors. Well, first of all, if somebody passes and they have no next of kin and they weren't registered, there's no donation.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Because
they have to ask for the consent.
We have to ask for consent from the family. So, but if that person that passed is a donor, is registered, but has no family, we do the recovery and we give the body back to the coroner, and they do what the traditionally coroners do when there's no next of kin. It's a public burial. It's a city-paid burial.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And so, I did hear earlier something about an honor walk.
Yeah.
What is that?
An honor walk is one of several different traditions that are done in the donation process, in the hospital, or whatever place people have walked. It's a ceremony type thing where when somebody has passed, and there's going to be recovery, that body of that person has to be transported to the operating room, the OR. So what happens is family, staff, nurses, doctors will line the hallways of that road, basically, where the person is being transported, and we basically honor and give our final goodbyes to that person when they're being transported from their room to the OR. It's really emotional.
It is.
You can YouTube it, Honor Walk, and you'll see it's very touching, very emotional. But it's meant to honor that decision and that person that is passed, that very, very beautiful gift of life. That's what we call it. It's a gift of life.
It is.
You know, because they've decided, or the family's decided, that when they pass, they're going to give life. So that's an honorable decision. That's a beautiful decision that they've made. So we honor that decision with this little ceremony. So.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an honor walk, you know.
That's actually really
And it's
beautiful.
very well deserved. I think those people are very courageous.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even now, also for the cadaver, but also the family
Yeah, exactly,
involved.
the
Because
family.
sometimes they make that decision,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's very, very
It's fitting,
poetic.
right?
It's poetic. It's fitting.
And
Yeah.
especially considering the fact that a lot of, don't get me wrong, thank you, nurses, emergency medical services being a part of our lives, doctors, and anybody in the healthcare service. But for them to, also honor someone that they never even know and, mourn that grief as well, it's such a fulfilling feeling to know that the family isn't alone.
Yeah,
But we are
exactly.
also thankful for
Exactly.
the donation that they have caused for other people to continue living.
We've had, as ambassadors and all the people, the staff that work for One Legacy, we've had beautiful experiences with these medical professionals where they'll take on these patients as family members. So when a patient passes away, we see how they react. We see how emotional they get, like losing a loved one. So when they line up in the wall, on the hallway, to honor that person that has passed, it's emotional. I can't tell you how many times I've seen these nurses cry and completely lose it, because it's such a beautiful thing to watch.
Very, very selfless.
Yeah.
Very touching. That really is.
Very commending.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, with that, I did want to ask this final question. Why should you or anybody else out there consider being an organ donor? Like, despite of, I know we talked about a lot about organ donation, but just for outro sort.
I can tell you from my end, after I got my transplant, it took me a good 4 to 5 months to come to terms and accepting the fact that somebody had to pass for me to have this gift of life. There was a lot of guilt, survivor's guilt. There was a lot of mixed emotions, from anger to confusion to disappointment, disillusionment, everything under the stars. But after that, I had to come to terms that somebody passed. But what could I do with that gift of life? I could honor that gift of life and do whatever I can as if I were that person, and honoring that person, and that person is next to me. So I like to say that the way I move forward is in an honorable way, considering that person passed. So I see that person as with me a lot of times. Whenever I meet somebody new, that person is with me, meeting that person. Whenever I go on some adventure, that person is having that same adventure with me. Whenever I need to make some kind of important decision in my own way, I consult with my donor. So that person is basically here. We were talking about traditions. One tradition that recipients have also, and it's basically the only way we get to communicate, is through handwritten letter or typed letter. When somebody is a recipient, well, I have the curiosity. Most of us, almost all of us, have that curiosity to know that family of that loved one. So we write our letter, and we send it to, in my case, One Legacy, because of the privacy laws.
Yeah.
We send it to One Legacy. One Legacy gets in contact of the hospital, wherever that person is
And
passed.
it's up to like that family or their decision to if they want to respond.
Exactly. They want to respond.
I actually really love that idea.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
There's
It's
a certain
So both parties need to
anonymity.
agree
Yeah.
to be able to meet. So I want to be able to meet that family and let them know how important that decision was to me. So you were asking, why should somebody register? It's a good way to continue giving to the world. So I like to say that person that passed is still doing a lot of good through me, still helping through me.
It's very much like they're living vicariously through you.
Exactly. They're
And
still doing good.
Wait, I also have another thing. I don't know if this is a myth. Debunk it if you want, but I heard that there has been times where there's people who have received organ donations, and they feel the same things as their donor. Is that true?
It happens. I've
Really?
heard. Me, for example, one thing that changed in me is my my craving for sweets.
Really? Were you a salty or spicy person before?
I was more salty.
Oh, really?
More
And so
salty.
now it's
Now
like
it's
now you crave a big
craving
sweet
for
You want
sweets.
like
I've heard people.
A
Yeah.
bun, you want a cookie.
Exactly. A pie, cookie.
After a meal, huh?
Yeah, even without a meal, that's a craving. We take on some of the a lot of times it happens. So that's another way how that person is still here. So it's a generational. I was going to mention it's a generational decision when you've registered, because that person that passed didn't just save my life and whoever else that person saved, but all those people that I get to help now, it's my donors doing that, and all those people they get to help now. So it's going to go on for generations. One decision is affecting generations. I think I read in the Bible or somewhere there's a saying where he who saves one life saves all humankind.
I think I
There's
read
something like
a
that,
verse
yeah.
like that. Yes.
There's a verse like that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not too familiar, but I mean,
yeah. So
it's
that's
a touching thing.
That's a touching thing. Yeah. It's a simple decision affects generations.
And only in a positive manner.
And only in a positive manner, yeah. Exactly. So I say register. One of the myths people say, we're talking about myths, is, oh, I'm too sick, or I'm too old, or this or that. We always tell people, if you have it in your heart
to do it,
to be good to humanity and do something good, just register. Let the doctors decide. They're always going to do their due diligence. They're always going to do what they have to do to see how they can affect somebody or change somebody. Because like I said, it's not just organs. It's tendons, ligaments, corneas, tissue, bone. If a person can't donate an organ because XYZ reasons, it's okay. Maybe they can give sight to somebody. That's life-changing. That's life-changing, just being able to see your child for the first time.
because I've also, maybe I'm wrong, but I've also heard that there has been donations regarding hearing, like they're able to not hearing, what is it called? It's similar to hearing, because I remember it was specifically given to someone who was deaf, and instead of a cochlear implant, they had done it through a transplant. But I'm not 100% sure if it was.
Be. You know what? The way science is moving now, we heard earlier, end of last year, that somebody had a what do you call it? A trachea transplant, so they could speak now.
What?
That's life changing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Being able to say I love you to your child or your loved one for the first time, that's life changing. In your case, you got that. You can run.
I can run now. I can walk now.
Yeah, that's life changing.
And like now looking back, it's like a whole, like, that's crazy that someone made the decision either by their family or through themselves. It was a very big decision on their behalf, and it came and helped me, and it could have been anybody, but it helped me, and so I could say I'm pretty grateful for that
and you
whole
could
experience.
say you're not the only one. That person probably affected other people besides you. So you have other people that benefited from that one one decision.
True. Very true.
But thank you so much, Raul. This was a really informative podcast. Like I found out a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that might be the first podcast. Well, not the first, but where we learned something like on the spot. A lot of new things.
I found like I'm gonna go look up.
We might have to go on that on One Legacy. It was onelegacy.com.
OneLegacy.org. OneLegacy.org or DonateLifeCalifornia.org or Donevida California.org, or look for me around town. Since I became a recipient, I've because in this area the headquarters is in Azusa. They weren't getting up here as often as they should to bring awareness. Well, since I got my transplant, I've started to do more events on behalf of One Legacy up here.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be in community events often and bringing awareness from the Taco Festival to the Poppy Festival to,
Any festival.
Trunk or Treat.
Anywhere in the Antelope Valley.
Anywhere in the Antelope Valley. And pretty soon in the high schools, I'll be going to the high schools.
Oh,
wow.
that's crucial.
That's crucial.
And it's super informative. I remember when I was in high school, I was an organ donor already, and someone gave off a misconception, and so I was like, and it made me very iffy. But even now, like, I'm very set on being an organ donor, and
yeah. We always tell people just you whatever you heard it from somebody that heard it from the neighbor that was told by the mailman, so you
all hearsay.
It's hearsay. Why not listen to my story or listen to my fellow ambassador's story who lost their loved one, and they can tell you what happened in the operating room, how their loved one was cared for, and how now they're happy because their loved one is a donor, because their loved one is still out there.
That got me. But again, thank you so much, Raul, and we enjoyed having you on the podcast. This was super. I really love this podcast, and I really hope everyone out there.
Thank you for having me.
It was a big honor. Thank you for all the knowledge. Hopefully, the people viewing this will have tons of knowledge on organ donation. And
have some of their questions answered. And if you have any more questions, you can always talk to Raul.
Look for me out there. All right. Thank you.
All right, then.
See you guys later.
See you guys.